Y'all, y'all ready for this?
Never, ever, ever come into another man's house being disrespectful. That is my takeaway from Colorado's big win over Nebraska. They now move to 2-0. Look, part of the Secret Service detail. You see him on every shot. Here he is right now, Uncle Neely. Neely, if I'm ever in trouble, man, I want you as part of my human shield, man. You guys, as the game was ending, I looked up, I saw that big forearm of yours. Boom, let's go, let's go. What a scene it was there in Boulder, man. We're gonna rewind everything here, but let's start right there, man. What was the vibe? How everything went down yesterday or on Saturday?
Man, it was exciting. You know, Nebraska is a historic rival from a previous conference days. So Colorado doesn't get to play Nebraska every year, you know, in this new form and fashion of college football. So to have Nebraska, your historic rival, come to town, and it's Deion Sanders, Coach Prime's first home game, coming off of a road win over TCU, who was in the national championship and ranked number 17. You put all those ingredients together, and it was an electric atmosphere at Folsom Field. Record crowd, 53,000 plus was here, perfect weather. Ralphie ran out, and then the game began. And you just knew from the start of that game that even though it was kind of rough, no way that CU was losing.
All right, this is the pregame show Rewind. I'm Tali Carr. He is Uncle Neely. What we do every week is we just try to take you back and relive the moments that culminate with the game week. This was a very special one. It was very personal. It was hate week. But one thing I loved, though, Neely, was the pregame speech from Coach Sanders. Let's take a listen to that.
Now, see, I pride myself on being a great father. They say most African-American men are not great fathers, but the devil is a lie.
Amen.
See, one thing about a father, a real father, I don't care what ethnicity, if you say something about his kids, it's personal. If you say something about his woman, it's personal. If you just come on his property and do something that you have no business doing, it gets personal. And the reason it's so personal to me is they said something about my kids. You think I'm gonna let them talk about y'all and they ain't gonna be personal? You think I'm gonna let them doubt y'all and they ain't gonna be personal? You think I'm gonna let them naysay y'all and they ain't gonna get personal? You think I'm gonna let them say all the stuff that they said and that we don't have and we prove that we have it, and even when we prove that we had it, they said it wasn't real. Therefore, guess what? I respect the head coach a lot. He said some things. He tried to back off of it. But it's too late because it's this is personal. I feel like every one of y'all are my babies. And I love you to life. And I know how y'all feel about me and the coaching staff and the support staff. Therefore, today, it ain't no regular game. See, y'all just want to win. When it's personal, knowing that I want to dominate, give me my theme music.
Neely, it is the most unique thing. You feel like you're in a Southern Baptist church and the sermon is about let's go kick their butts. Like, that's exactly the vibe that it felt like just watching your video that you put on our YouTube channel. What was it like being in the room? I'm sure there was another layer of palpability that you just had to be there to feel.
So once I get the camera focused on him, you know, I'm looking around with my human eyes at the players' body language and reaction. And sometimes you'll see the camera lose focus because I get captivated in the moment and I'm ready to go out there and play my damn self. So one thing about Deion Sanders, he can preach and he can pastor. And those are two different things when you grow up black in the South. And his words and the way he strings it together to get those guys motivated to go out and play. And all of it is attached to all the words from the previous days in the week about it being personal and going out here and having respect. And, you know, he has to defend his family just like he defends his children. You know, we're all in this together, man. It was a wonderful pregame speech. And you just knew then, like, okay, it's game day. It's on. They're about to go out here and do the damn thing.
I think you make an interesting observation there that you get to see up close and personal. I mean, this is almost, exactly like poetry or prose from the standpoint of all these words, all this messaging. It ties together from day to day and ends right where you want it to be the culmination, the climax, that emotion just exploding right before you hit the field. Like it's pretty cool the way it's all woven together.
It absolutely is. And again, with that preacher pastor analogy, he is just moved by inspiration each day. There's a word of the day, and then he, like a great comedian does, you end the set with how you started the set and you attach it all together. And then that light bulb goes off in the audience, like, oh man, this is one big message. I thought Tuesday was Tuesday and Thursday was Thursday. But when I get to Saturday, we've been talking this same thing, since the Sunday meetings. And you see the enthusiasm in the young people. You see the enthusiasm in the staff. Everybody gets up to hear what Deion Sanders is going to say on game day.
And he incorporates everybody. I mean, they're right about to go on the field, seconds away, and he's talking about, not only himself, players and coaches, but support staff. Like, he makes sure that everybody is loved and acknowledged, and he keeps that consistent in his messaging.
And he's been that way from day one, whether it's Truth and Trinity and Jackson State are here, because what he says, Tolly, is if you touch this program, I don't care what your job is, if you touch this program, you thereby impact winning and losing. And we're about winning here and winning now. So I'm going to make sure that the custodian staff, the parking lot attendants, the concessions, the DJ on game day, the cafeteria staff, you name it, not just football coaches, football players, but the media staff, anybody that can put their hands on a player and impacts a player or a coach's day, you are part of this program. You're part of winning and losing. And he includes everybody, but he uplifts everybody to a standard, and that standard is non-negotiable.
Well, this program has made an impact on the lives of many people, even celebrities. They are people too. You had a chance to catch up with Omari Hardwick right before the game. A lot of people know him as Ghost from his acting career. He had some pretty strong words. Let's hear from him right now.
He's been set. It's an appointment. He's set in this place for a specific reason. It's a righteous appointment. And I don't know if anybody who ran a 4.240, who is not arguably, but outside of my college guy and brother Champ Bailey, who's second to Deion as a cover corner. Deion is the greatest cover corner ever to play and one of the top 7 football players to ever play NFL, period. And yet, most people in his position couldn't coach high school, let alone be able to coach a program like this. So he's a pastor, decorated as a coach, and he is galvanizing not only a team, not only a campus, not only a university, but galvanizing all of football. It's pretty amazing to witness, bro. He's a special cat. I'm here for it all.
And Neely, I think Omari really put it together. What he said was just sometimes what I search for words to say, but he said it so concise and so eloquently, his thoughts about Deion Sanders.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I loved galvanization, galvanized. That, yes, we're playing football. Yes, it's about football. But football is really just the carrot on that stick, to get people to change and to see that folks can come together across geography, across race, across gender, across economics, and build successful organizations. And when you look at this program, it is a football program, but it is so much bigger than football when you look at the life lessons and the impact that the works of these student athletes and these coaches and the head coach, Coach Prime, are having on lives. And here you have a renowned actor who played college ball, who's watching from afar to some degree and being directly impacted by what he's seeing on social media from this program. And that is part of the reason, chiefly the reason why Deion Sanders has opened his doors to, whether it's the pregame show or Reach the People or Well Off Media, so the world can see what takes place and get that motivation and get that uplifting as well.
Well, if you want to see and hear and feel all of the inside access, thepregameshow.com is a great place to be, as well as our YouTube channel. The keyword is The Pregame Show. Look, the man right there, you see him. You see him on TV. At halftime, he finishes the interviews with Fox and he goes right there to Neely. Post-game, Neely is right there. It does not get much more inside than that. So thepregameshow.com, as well as our YouTube channel. Make sure you are there. All right, let's talk a little bit about the football game, the X's and O's. Neely, I was watching the game. It's definitely appointment television for me. And during the first half, I was like, okay, this is not going to be last week's game. We're not going to run up. Shedeur's probably not going to have 500 yards passing, although he did get right there to 400. But a different style of game. And I think that's crucial because not every week in college football or any sport is going to follow the same script.
Yeah, absolutely, Tyler. It's like boxing. Styles make fights. Contrasts make fights. Some teams have high-powered, explosive offenses where they go over the top. Some teams are ground and pound with a running game, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But what you saw out of this Colorado team is no matter what style you bring to the table, we can adjust to it, overcome it, and come out with that victory. When you look at that first quarter, and it's sitting there 0-0, and here's a team that put up 45 on the road in Fort Worth, Texas, you're scratching your head like saying, what the hell is going on? But as just like with a boxing match, you start to figure out, what they're doing, what I need to do to overcome it. You look at the final score, you will forget what really happened in the first quarter and part of that second quarter. The biggest contrast and adaptation from week 1 to week 2 for me was the defense. Last week TCU put up 40 points, and here now you come in with Nebraska, historic rival, who's supposed to run the ball all over CU, and you get 7 and a fluke 7 after that for 14 points. So amazing a job by this coaching staff to adjust, to adapt, and to go out there and still make sure that the win happens.
At the end of the day, the box score, the offense looks like, it was an excellent output. When you see it for your eyes, you saw that there was an adjustment, from first half to second half. Let's hear from Shedeur Sanders now, and he'll give himself a grade on how the offense performed on Saturday.
For the critics, they're going to hate regardless. They found a way to hate on us last week, and we was throwing it last week. So this week, of course, they're going to hate, but we're not really too concerned about that. We understand where we got to grow and get better at. So I'm excited that we went through this and was able just to stick together and find a way to put up points on the board, but it's unacceptable. We can't do that again, though, and put that much pressure on the defense. So it was like the offense didn't show up as early as defense did. So good football, though. They had our back. The brothers right there.
All right, so that's Shedeur there. Neely, I always knew that the arm was going to be there. We saw that at Jackson State. We know he has, he can make all the throws. We know that the percentage of completions, that's going to be high. He seems this year more elusive to me as a runner than I remember him at Jackson State. That 2-point conversion that was ruled an incompletion. Man, that was magic feat and a lot of escapability that he displayed there.
Yeah, when Shedeur Sanders is invited to the Downtown Athletic Club in New York City, and when he's sitting there as one of the top 3 or 4 in Heisman voting, waiting to hear his name called, that is one of the plays that will certainly be in that highlight reel that justifies him being there. Yes, the pass was ruled incomplete, but when you saw what he did as a quarterback to make it happen and find a receiver, it was just outstanding play. One thing I'll say about, this offense, it does what needs to be done. You look at the greats such as a Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, you didn't get back-to-back 500-plus yard games because maybe the other defense is not built, to make that sustainable. What you did get is high-performance, high-caliber quarterback play, whether it was cerebral or physical. And when you talk about that physical running style, Shedeur absolutely credited strength and conditioning coach Mo Sims, who was part of Georgia's program, came to Jackson State, and now here at CU. And he knows that Mo Sims got him stronger and faster. And so whether the coaches want him to run that much or not, he know when it comes down to it, Shedeur Sanders can put those legs to motion and get it done.
And he learned the hard way last year at Jackson State. He took some knocks running the ball. I'm not going to say he wasn't aware, but he got hit a couple times pretty hard, and I'm sure that all comes into that mix of playing smarter this year now that he's at Colorado.
Sure. You saw in this game against Nebraska a couple slides. One of the slides he still got hit in the head. How that wasn't a penalty, I don't understand. But that's another thing that has to be cleaned up here when you look from week 1 to week 2. He was sacked 8 times against Nebraska. And you can't have a quarterback of that caliber who means so much to this team in this current season, getting hit 8 times for a sack. There's no telling how many other times he, actually got hands put on him. So the offensive line has some work to do. But when you look at the totality of the victory against a historic program like Nebraska, you and I, Tyler, we remember the Osbornes and the Tommy Frazier's. Like, Nebraska means something. When Nebraska comes to town and you can hold them to 0 and 7 points and they get another fluke score at the end for 14, and essentially you blow them out in your home opener, it means something to this program. I'm looking for Colorado to move up the polls, man.
Absolutely. From not being considered to 22, they should. I mean, I don't know everyone who lost, but they should be higher than 20. They should be in the teens for sure.
Absolutely. Certainly be in the teens.
Yeah. And by the time people see this, they'll probably already know. So we'll definitely hopefully look smart when that comes out. Neely, tell me this. Who is Xavier Weaver? One thing I noticed just 2 weeks in, it seems like, look, I don't want to say it's a battle, but the options of who's going to be the top receiver from week to week, like you can't, you got to pencil that in. You can't use ink pen on that just yet.
Man, it is the Los Angeles Lakers in the 80s. You don't know who the leading scorer is going to be, but you do know Magic Johnson, Shedeur Sanders is going to get them the ball. And 1 week is James Worthy, and another night is Kareem, and it might be Jamal Wilkes in the corner. I know I'm aging myself, but y'all can go Google these people. But it's the same thing with Shedeur Sanders in command this offense. He's the point guard, and he finds who's in their spots, who's open, who got there as the play developed, got there with the right timing on the route. And Zay Weaver has been consistent. 2 weeks in, 100-plus yard games, almost got to 200. He predicted he was going to get 200, almost got there this week. But next week, it'll be another 2 guys. It might be Dylan Edwards again. It might be Javon Antonio when he's back healthy. He has a core group of receivers. Right now, Zay Weaver is leading the charge 2 games in and looking like one of the best receivers in the nation. Transferred here out of Central Florida to be with Coach Prime, and that has proven to be a very, very good decision for him.
All right, I want to roll a piece of a video here. We're going to get your reaction. Let's take a look at something that was very interesting pregame on Saturday, Colorado versus Nebraska. All right, so Neely, there you are. You're waiting to film the team coming out, and you can't help but to hear it. We all can hear it. They're chanting Neely's name. You have your little fan section there, and you very politely panned up to give them a little FaceTime, and then came back down. I mean, Neely, this thing's getting out of control, man.
Well, I think it's an absolute control. I think it is a Formula One race car, and if you have an experienced driver behind the wheels, you know how to keep it on the track. I am, appreciative of the love and support from the fan base here at CU and around the country, because it's not just a CU program, Tyler. When you look at the numbers that we're doing in Atlanta market, always #1 every month, Atlanta viewership, but New York City, Houston, Dallas, the list goes on and on. But here in Boulder, man, it's hard to go places, Boulder or Denver, and somebody not say, hey, Uncle Neely pregame show. So a lot of love, man, and we appreciate it, and going to keep on giving the people what they want.
Well, let me give you a little hint, Boulder. Neely don't miss no meals, so if you want him to come to your establishment, just slide a free sandwich over there, and he might broadcast live. He might broadcast the Rewind live from your establishment. Just a little commerce back and forth there.
Hey, and speaking of commerce back and forth, man, I was at a restaurant right after the game this past Saturday evening, and tried to order something, and the bartender said, hey, got to apologize, we're out of that. He said, man, you got to understand that we beat our biggest day ever by 15 to 20%, and we're out of so much stuff because of the game that took place here today. And so you just see that impact from the economic engine of what is Deion Sanders and the Coach Prime effect right here in Boulder. Hotel rooms, not only scarce and sold out, but it's Essence Festival New Orleans prices. You know, the prices go up on game day.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to one of my buddies yesterday, and we were just kicking it around here in the studio, trying to straighten up a bit, and because it is a mess around here, an absolute mess. And I said, you know, at Jackson State, we saw Deion Sanders lift the economy, you know, locally, regionally. A lot of smaller producers, publishers like we were at HBCU Game Day. You know, you're starting off the pregame show. Like, it was just an economy around him. And I said, not that I'm surprised, but I'm sure a lot of people really took notice that when he got to Colorado, he's now doing those same things, having that level of impact on a major corporation. So he raised the level of the water in the Bay. And now he's dealing with people who think they just park their boats in the ocean. He's raising the water in the ocean too, Neely. I mean, next week you're going to have Fox Big Noon Kickoff and College Game Day at the same time, broadcasted live, and you guys don't play till 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast. I'm not gonna say that's never happened before, but it's a very clear indication right now. Colorado is the epicenter of college football.
And Tolly, I'm going to go out there and say that has never happened before. And somebody can get in the comments and give us a date and time and prove it wrong. But in my memory, I've never seen it, particularly for a late night West Coast game and those morning shows to be here setting up for them both at the same time. But I will say this, man, about that commercial and commerce, impact of who is Deion Sanders. He recognizes it. He understands, the gravitas he brings to the table and that things will uplift and change. And, he ain't shy about letting you know that he knows it. When you look at the impact that it had on the tax base in Jackson, Mississippi, I think, no pun intended, there was a $21 million increase in tax revenues in 1 year of football while he was there. And so you're going to look and see the same thing in Boulder, Colorado and beyond. That rising tide does lift all boats, that old narrative. And he's aware that, what I bring to the table and what comes with it. And so when you look at the College Game Days impact and you look at the Big Noon Kickoff and what it means just for exposure of this school. But here's the other thing, Tolly, much like what happened in his JSU days, the opponent is also getting exposure. So here's what you can look to happen. Yes, College Game Day is coming here. Yes, Big Noon Kickoff has been here and coming back. But one of these road trips, they're going to go to the other school, like a Oregon or like a UCLA or like a Arizona, because of Deion Sanders and his impact.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm very strategic about how I decorate the wall behind us. And as you can see, let's see right here, I got Alcorn State and the significance of Alcorn State. The last time Shedeur Sanders was intercepted in a college football game, Alcorn State. So look,
yeah,
NFL draft personnel, put those DBs from Alcorn State on your radar. No one has picked off Shedeur since they have. So it's a great point that wherever Deion Sanders goes, man, and it just organically just kind of happens. It's like magic.
Tolly, absolutely, man. I appreciate you making that point about that last interception, with it being Alcorn, with it being an HBCU in Mississippi, because that's one of the things that the marketplace has to be aware of. Shedeur has a track record and a resume that was in place before Colorado. And the NFL draft people, the scouts, they really should go back and look at FAMU and look at Alabama State and Alabama A&M and Alcorn and see players that were hanging in there or having their own or giving Jackson State a tough time. Because as you have seen 2 weeks in a row now, you may play in the SWAC or the HBCU, but when you're good at football, you're damn good at football no matter where you are. And you got Travis Hunter who scored a touchdown. You got Savion Wilkerson who scored a touchdown. You got Shedeur Sanders leading the nation. And then even over there at TCU, you had Patrick Willis on the offensive line, or is it Willis Patrick? I get confused. But he was at Jackson State, transferred to TCU, and he was the most dominant offensive lineman that TCU had that day. And they all come from HBCUs.
Yep. It's a thing that you cannot ignore. The data shows it. All you got to do is just take a look there. Speaking of data, Neely, who is the in 2 games, with just 2 games under their belt, who's the best passer in college football right now?
If you go by 2 games, it is Shedeur Sanders. There's a kid out of Hawaii who played a week 0 game. He's got 3 under his belt. His stats are just a wee bit higher. But there's no doubt about it, man. Shedeur's ahead of Caleb, who won the Heisman over there at USC. He is by far the most successful college quarterback in America, not just in the pack, not just in the state. He is by far the best quarterback at this portion of the season.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. You guys have Colorado State. I love these noon kickoffs. For you, it's 10 a.m. You're finally going to get a little night action, man. Are you looking forward to that?
Well, let me be clear. I've had night action before, Tolly. I do have children. So it's like there's been night action in my life. But as it relates to football, you teed that up. As it relates to football, we do have an 8 p.m. kickoff here in Colorado. It's 10 p.m. for you in Atlanta, 9 p.m. Central, man. It's going to be a long day with the kickoff shows and then that later kickoff. But Colorado State, no slouch, no pushover, is the in-state rival. So, if you look at this from an HBCU SWAC perspective, imagine Jackson State versus Southern. That would be your Colorado versus Nebraska. And now you got Jackson State versus Alcorn. That's your Colorado versus Colorado State. So it's going to be a raucous crowd. It's been years since one of the teams hosted. They normally play this game at Mile High in Denver, but now it's back on the campus, and it's a night game. Going to be off the chain.
All right, this happened in Jackson a lot, that there were so many celebrities that would show up at games that some celebrities would just be sitting there and nobody would be paying attention to them or bothering them because there was just so much going on. Nancy Lieberman-Klein was at Jackson State like all by herself. And Neely's probably the only person there that recognized her. Unless this was AI or Photoshop, did I see like the Wu-Tang Clan was on the sideline yesterday or at the game?
Not only did you see the Wu, and Wu was forever, Nancy Lieberman was back, and she was with the Wu. So it's much like Snoop Dogg, and the Martha Stewart. You had Nancy Lieberman and Wu-Tang at the same game. And it wasn't just like, Raekwon the Chef. Like, it was the entire Wu-Tang Clan at the game. It was about 15 up here.
Man, so you had Snoop Dogg on video this week. T.O. is just like there, he's just like, oh, it's T.O. again, just the NFL Hall of Famer. No big deal. You got Ghost there, you got the Wu-Tang, you got Nancy Lieberman. How many celebrities did you see this week, Neely?
You had Cameron. Cameron was here. Thought we were going to make it as well, with their podcast. It is what it is. But Cameron was here. Michael Irvin was here. Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp made appearances as well.
Man, it is the economy. Not only you kind of talked about this when you talked to Jace Feely's dad a little bit. The people in control of betting, Las Vegas, that they don't know what to do. It's like everybody and their mom is now betting on Colorado football. I think I heard that more people placed bets on Colorado football than like 30 of the 32 NFL teams. The point spreads have just been crazy. I'm not into betting. I get lost talking about this stuff, but I mean, across every facet of the game, it's just commerce, popularity, exposure, winning. That is a perfect combination.
Absolutely. And in all of that, let me tell you what's still happening now that we're 3 weeks into college football. 2 games for Colorado, but 3 weeks counting week 0. Every week on national TV, you still hear HBCUs in Jackson State get mentioned because of that upward draft, because of that pull effect, because of that gravitational pull and gravitas. Everyone is winning in marketing and brand recognition and name identification because of what's happening, here at Colorado. And so this is a good week for Colorado State. Everybody can't come to Colorado, but you're going to play Colorado on national TV, and it's time for you to recruit and tell your story as well. And the same thing that happened next week for Oregon, who, of course, has been a perennial powerhouse in this conference and always in the mentions of potential, national champions. I think, as we're here, they're ranked number 13 now in the nation. But it happens, Tyler. Whoever is around this program gets a lot of spotlight and pull on them because we call it the prime effect.
Yep, it is a real thing for sure. Well, Neely, we're looking forward to what's coming up this week. Make sure you follow if you have not subscribed. I mean, the YouTube channel I looked up this morning was like number 14 trending, most, however you say that. Of all the videos trending, you were like number 14 with Ghost. It might be even higher by now. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you go to thepregameshow.com. That's 2 E's, THEE, pregameshow.com. You can sign up for our newsletter there. We can keep you up to date on everything that's happening. If you like to read, if you like to watch, if you like to listen, we got you covered on all bases. If you like to eat, hang out with Uncle Neely because as Coach Prime says, Neely don't miss no meals.
Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. As soon as we get done here, going to eat.
I was about to say, you look like you're in a place where you're going to just slide on a bib and eat some ribs, like as soon as we're done talking, like right where you are.
That's a good idea, man. I mean, ribs today. That's a great idea.
There it is. There it is. Some afternoon action. You and the ribs. All right. I'm Tyler Carr from Atlanta. He's Uncle Neely. You guys make sure to hang with us all week. We'll talk to you soon. This is The Pregame Show Rewind.